Welcome back, everyone. I'm Nala.
And I'm Faith.
And this is the Sirens Den breakdown, theories, and things you may have overlooked for episode 2 of The Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So, since we are talking about the episode, obviously, this is your official spoiler warning.
This episode personally made me laugh so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Just you get more of that Sam-Bucky banter. But now we're really getting to answer more questions that we had from episode 1. Namely, who is this new Cap? How dare he?
We really start the episode strong on just answering that question. It is a shot of, or not a shot, we start off the episode with John Walker, who is our new Captain America, in his high school locker room, nervously preparing for an interview, kind of how Cap in his first movie, when he was preparing for his first public debut, was terrified. They show him kind of, and they really try to humanize him in this first moment. I think all of us, when that last shot of him winking at the camera in the last episode happened, I think we all just felt an immense hatred for this man. And
Imposter.
So
he was very sus.
Mm-hmm. So they really try to get us a little bit more on board with this guy, which I'm really glad that they've gone that route with it. I think it would have been kind of boring if he was kind of a unreasonable Tyler Hayward asshole from the beginning, right? I still don't trust him. I still don't like him, but I'm willing to see where he takes us. And can we just talk about Wyatt Russell really being a fantastic actor in all of the scenes that he's been in? Like, he really brings the character to life. He's taken a character that would be really easy to just hate their existence purely out of their existence and make him interesting. Like, I hated him last time, and now I'm really kind of more into him. And in this scene, we get a little bit more too. We are introduced to his wife, Olivia, who apparently was his high school sweetheart, and his friends, Lamar's Hodgkins, who his kind of his Bucky. They're best friends. They also went to high school together. They're in a unit together, and they're gonna fridge her. They're gonna.
Yeah, his wife is probably, because she was introduced as such an integral part of his story. They were high school sweethearts, went on to get married. Yeah, she's most likely going to get fridged because John Walker, canonically in the comics, does go kind of crazy. And
when he goes crazy, it's because his parents are killed, right?
So, for those of you who don't know what fridged is, it is a concept of brutally offing, usually a male character's female love interest. And that
appeared in Green Lantern, but coined.
Why?
So this I forget her name, but basically there's a Green Lantern comic where his girlfriend at the end of the comic was dead in the fridge at the end of the episode, and it was led to the new dark art. So basically,
I see. So not the movie, like not the movie Green Lantern, but it was the comics. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. And I forget her name, but she read that and was just, it was another in a series of what's been going on forever, in which case the woman dies and the guy gets motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's usually used as a plot device to motivate the male character. And it obviously does a big disservice to the women characters. So I think his wife is going to get fridged because, of course, he has to have a motivation, more of a motivation to go into that bad guy character. Because right now he's looking like a good guy. So I think because again, this Cap isn't the good guy, so something has to happen for him to go off the deep end, and we'll find that out.
Yeah. We then cut to him. He goes out onto the set, or not the set of Good Morning America, but it's an interview set for Good Morning America on his high school football field. And there is a marching band playing the Star Spangled Man with a Plan, the theme song of Captain America in 1940s during his original debut propaganda tour. It's a lot jazzier of a remix. And
Oh, I
he
was vibing with that.
yeah, he signs action figures of himself. There's already like a huge merch push, which is kind of what the US military actually does to kind of propagandize their self. So it really it I think it honestly brings a shred of realism to the whole thing of because if you just know that's how if there was a real Captain America, that's how we'd be treating him.
Exactly,
Um,
and this gave me major The Boys vibes because it took us to the corporate side of superheroes, and I was like, "Wow, this is no longer like this superhero isn't about the story, the journey, how he got there. This superhero is about, he's the Homelander. He's the face now of this superhero, this unnamed military superhero company."
Uh, yeah, and during his interview too, we kind of learned a little bit more about him. He apparently has the most medals of honors ever awarded to any soldier. Uh,
Whoa.
of course he does. They show a clip of him using the Cap American shield with like while they're talking about, and his body was so great. They studied it at MIT where everything was tested off the charts. Which they show him throwing that shield, and so first theory, we kind of go into super soldiers a little bit later in the episode. I think he already has the serum. I think he's already a super soldier.
I think so too, or at least some very basic dose of the
Mhm.
serum, not like full blown. But yeah, I mean, we saw he can swing the shield. He has that agility, but we really saw nothing else that we saw in Chris Evans' Captain America. Because his Captain America was more than just swinging the shield. He
Yeah.
was able to fight. He was able to be diplomatic, and it's I like this facade that they're just giving you the highlights and they're not showing you what's really going on underneath.
Yeah. I really like that in this opening scene we have a really good introduction to just how John is really similar to Steve and how they could not be more different in certain ways. And it's in key ways that makes John not Captain America. And I think this is really kind of highlighted when he talks about Steve being a brother to him. This he's like,
Yeah.
even though I've never met, I feel that our ideals would match up the same. That we do things for the same reason. That we just want to help people, and it really just it's kind of bastardization of Steve's origin story. Like, yeah, Steve wanted to help people, but he did so kind of out of a sense of duty. There's a humbleness to it. There was kind of a where John kind of uh I don't get that. I didn't get that from him. He brags about how close he is to Steve in this moment. And we're not the only ones who feel this way because then we see that Bucky is watching this interview and is just pissed off.
He is like, how dare you? How dare you stood where he stood?
Mhm. Uh,
I like how we didn't get Bucky's reaction in the first episode. We just got Sam's reaction. And yeah, Steve and Sam were great friends. But it hit me as soon as I saw Bucky. I was like, oh my goodness, he's reacting completely differently from Sam because like this is an even bigger shock to him, and it kind of makes Steve being gone more real. So I appreciated this scene as well because of what he said, of Cap being like a brother to him, even though he's never met him. And then you cut to Bucky, who's literally been his friend since childhood. They're old men together. They've gone on missions. They have obviously such this deep friendship. Steve is actually his brother. So to hear someone else say that for the sake of saying it.
yeah. So So Bucky takes this anger and immediately goes to a military base to confront Sam. He essentially, this is the first time we see them together in the series. And the scene is basically Bucky going up to Sam and being like, "Oh, the asshole just has Steve's shield, and you're just gonna let that happen?" And Sam's like, "Yeah, I can't like be like, I'm sorry, I changed my mind." And they kind of have this back and forth about uh, Bucky really trying to like shaming Sam like everyone else has for not taking up the Captain America title, and they just banter for about 10 minutes. They or not
Which
10 minutes, but it felt like it in a good way.
but honestly, that's what we're here for. So I
Hmm.
had no complaints.
Uh, my personal favorite detail of their banter is because Sam's like, I can't deal with the stupid Captain America thing right now because there's real problems like this organization that might be part of. He calls the because he's referring to when Joaquin got beat up in the last episode by the really strong guys. And Sam tells Bucky that he thinks that it might be part of the big three: androids, aliens, or wizards. And it just leads into this whole debate about if wizards exist. Bucky reveals that he read uh, The Hobbit when it first came out in 1937, which a lot of people have been like, it didn't come to the United States until 1938, so there's no way that he could have been, yeah, he could have been in Europe, guys. But yeah, it easily could have been Bucky was in Europe in 1937. That's not an unreasonable place to have been as an American male in 1937. Um, like they took vacations too, guys. They traveled. It happens. Uh, but yeah, we get their banter. Bucky says he's
Uh,
gonna go along, and it's great.
I love this scene again. This episode had me cracking up so many times. Specifically when he brings up, wizards, and then Sam's like, Doctor Strange. And Bucky's like, he's a sorcerer. Sorcerer's just a wizard without a hat. I love that. Beautiful writing. And then he goes into, okay, so are we fighting Gandalf? And I love Sam just saying, you know about Gandalf? Why would he say that? I don't know. Who doesn't I love it. I love him. Who doesn't know about Gandalf? And Bucky's like, do not quote the ancient texts to me. I was there when they were written.
Yeah.
You think I don't know about Gandalf?
It does crack me up. That moment also
I
did crack
know.
me up because it's like, Sam, when did you think The Hobbit came out? It's not a new book.
Oh, they're just too good. Right. So obviously he touches on these big three, but he is missing one that he just isn't fully aware of until later in the episode.
That takes us to the plane that is going to the mission that Sam was just talking about. It's very linear this episode. A very big change from WandaVision. And it's more banter. It's they're in a plane. Sam's like, or Bucky's like, what's the plan? Sam's like, I don't have a plan. Sam calls Bucky Buck, and Bucky's like, don't call me that. Only Steve can call me that, and Steve had plans. And that line had me dying.
Exactly. No, this episode was straight up. It was a comedy. This is funny. It reminded me of, I believe it's a line in the Avengers when Loki shows up, or no, when Thor shows up and takes Loki away, and Tony's going, and Natasha's like, "Don't we have a plan of attack?" And Tony's like, "I have a plan, attack." And that's essentially what Falcon does.
Yeah, no, I like their relationship because Sam will always be Sam to Steve, and Bucky will always be Bucky to Steve. But Sam and Bucky are kind of like the Steve to Iron Man in a way. Like they kind of have those really close similarities that are just
Mm.
undercut by these solar opposite like stubbornness.
Wow. No, I love that because this is absolutely what, Tony and Steve just kept, because they had a wonderful banter too.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one of them is more technology based and the other one is a super soldier. I
Yeah.
love that. Good old Marvel. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you want to use the same trope over and over, let's do it.
I really like about these moments is this is really the first time that we've seen Bucky be Bucky since the first Captain America movie. When we were introduced to him, he was this snarky kind of asshole, but loving and
Mm,
wanting to do the right thing kind of guy. And this is the first time that we see kind of that snarkiness come out, that kind of uh this is the personality that was suppressed by the Winter Soldier. Because before
yeah.
that, even when he was quote unquote Bucky, when he first came out of it, he was still super shocked.
Yeah.
So as much as they hate each other, like Sam is bringing out the best of him.
Oh, that just makes me so happy. I love Bucky so much. He's my tortured boy. I just want him to be happy.
Hmm.
But you know, you see him in the Winter Soldier. He's obviously, you know, the Winter Soldier. Not until the end does he finally start to break out of that. And then you go to Civil War, where he's pulled back in by Zemo. He was on the path to healing, and then was just pulled right back into being the Winter Soldier. And that traumatized him again. And, you know, he went to Wakanda, and he'll talk about this later. But that was like one of the only times that no, we talked about that in the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In the first episode, he talks about how the only time he felt at peace was in Wakanda. And then he immediately gets brought back into Infinity War and Endgame. And he's just now finally getting a break. And yeah, I love that Sam is able to bring out the snarkiness in him. And it's funny how resistant Bucky is to that snarkiness. Like he's just now realizing that it's okay to be himself. And I love that.
So the scene comes to a halt when Bucky flings himself from a plane because the plane is flying too close to ground to have a parachute, and Sam has wings, so that doesn't matter for him. So he just yeets himself from the plane and crashes into a bunch of trees, which was all caught on Red Wing, Sam's adorable little camera drone.
I just wanted to say I love this plant of Bucky's distaste for Red Wing. So he
Yeah.
talks about hating Red Wing, but you see that Red Wing is a really. I love that they added like little bird chirps to him. You know, very BB-8 R2 little robotic chirps to make him a little more like a bird.
It's pretty adorable. But Sam hates this robot and threatens to smash it as they sneak into the warehouse. They find their guys. They have your typical kind of action banter of, oh, they're right there. We should take them now. No, we gotta wait. We gotta see where they're after. Bucky is like, I see 2 guys, and Sam's like, well, really? Because Red Wing's seen 6 guys. When Bucky sneaks in, also, there's a really cool reference. Uh, Sam makes a joke about Bucky. He's like, dang, since you came back from Wakanda, you're really sneaky. You're like the White Panther. And Bucky's like, no, actually, I'm the White Wolf. The White Wolf being what the school children in Wakanda called him in that end credit scene in Black Panther. And the White Wolf is actually a Marvel character. The White Wolf is in the comics, he is a foreigner who is adopted in by Wakanda as a child and is the head of their secret police force. So I think it'd be kind of cool if Bucky took on that mantle.
Yeah, he was a foreigner adopted by them, and you know, given new technology, bestowed new technology by T'Challa. He's got,
Yeah.
you know, his dope arm, which, you know, broke his fall from a plane. That arm
Yeah.
is no joke.
Yeah. It's we get confirmed that information that it's a vibranium arm, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes in handy later on as we get into this fun car chase action sequence. Yeah, and then he fast. Yeah, he's able to catch up to, you know, moving semis on a highway.
It's
Don't mess
nothing.
with him.
They run to catch up with these cars because they're like, oh God, the Red Wing sees like a person in the truck and they're like, oh God, they have a hostage. So they go to run to rescue the hostage because they're heroes. Uh, and Bucky, it gets there in no time because he's a super soldier. He kicks open the door where we are introduced to this girl with red hair and freckles and just kind of a deer in the headlight looks. And they think she's the hostage, but nope, she's a super soldier. She drop kicks Bucky out of that vehicle. And we go into another super dope action sequence. Oh, yeah. Also in the trucks, they say that they're stealing vaccines. So yeah, they're stealing quote unquote vaccines. Whether they are really vaccines or not, we'll get to that. But yeah, it is a really dope action sequence. Really any plot points, and since we're a podcast, there's only so good that it's like he did a drop kick and then he caught it. Yeah. So the notable thing that they are taking this criminal organization because they're in the middle of a robbery is vaccines, quote unquote.
Which ones? Pfizer or Moderna?
Johnson and Johnson, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One shot and done. One and done. But we um, but actually we later on discover that it's most likely super soldier serum because all the people who are taking down Sam and Bucky are obviously very, very strong. Bucky gets thrown off the truck, slides under one of them, or no, he gets thrown off the truck. He grabs on and like tears the the metal frame of the semi and then is under the truck while this super soldier is trying to break his arm off.
Yeah.
And there is that vibranium coming in clutch. Just will not let him do it.
Once
And
again, proving that vibranium is the good stuff.
Oof, real good stuff. But then, you think all is lost when who shows up? It's our new Captain America.
Ooh. And his sidekick Battlestar Galactica.
Which, you know what? I have nothing against him. That guy's cool. He's dope. So they fight more with these other enhanced beings. His sidekick gets thrown off, and you think all is lost when he pulls a Captain America, slides that shield under him. I like that move. I thought that was very smart, and I feel like came from a place of like, oh no, my friend is in danger, save him. Instead of like I am a superhero, and this, like, it wasn't robotic. It felt like he genuinely is trying to be a good guy. That's what they're genuinely trying to do.
Yeah, the action is really easy to follow, which I really appreciate. It's very well thought out, well coordinated sequences. Some notable things I took away from the fight is, well, first off, Red Wing gets snapped in half. Bucky's like, yes, thank you, when the villains do it. But when Cap and Battlestar, or I can't believe I just called him Cap. Ugh.
Oh, don't like that. It does not roll off the tongue.
Yeah, I need to get some mouthwash after that.
Oof.
Stinky. But when John Walker and Battlestar are fighting, something I notice about when John Walker is fighting is he's not really, it feels like he's not really concerned about the people he's fighting with. Like when he throws the shield, like Bucky has to like duck out of the way, like the first time it goes towards them. And then the second time, like Bucky has to catch it in his hand and get it back to him. There's also when he like pulled out the gun and started shooting, but like Falcon was right there, and so was Battlestar.
Yeah, he had to use his wing.
Yeah. Also, this Cap uses guns, which I know our Cap in World War II.
Oh yeah, and he's covering for him. When he was like, yeah.
The gun that was on his person.
Okay,
that was a gun.
Yeah, that was a gun from someone
on
else.
Location.
I'm sorry.
In an
show
emergency.
Me a Captain America.
Cap
Never
uses
mind,
guns.
Never mind.
In an emergency when there's no other options.
You know what? No, show me a holster on Captain America's costumes. It ain't there. He just has his shield and his good old fist. That's the American dream.
So I feel like it kind of represents the main key difference between John Walker and Cap, where our Cap, our Steve, he saw himself as a defender, where John Walker sees himself as a weapon.
Absolutely.
It ends when Falcon saves Bucky by tackling him off the truck and into a field full of flowers, and they roll down the hill and have a moment of looking at each other's eyes, and it's
So romantic.
Oh, so romantic. It's really, WandaVision was a exploration of the typical sitcom relationship stories, where Falcon and the Winter Soldier is really an exploration of the typical rom-com. They hate each other, but then they work together and they love each other.
It's like a buddy cop movie, no?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's a buddy cop
it's a
show.
better explanation for it.
I love the dichotomy.
I want them to smooch.
Oh, me too. I love the dichotomy of going from this crazy action scene to rolling in a field of flowers. But after this, Sam and Bucky are now walking in a dirt road. They don't really have anywhere to like go, like anything to take them, so they're just walking. And this is the payoff to that plant. Bucky apologizes to Sam for losing Red Wing because even though he hated it, he can see that Sam's a little broken up about it.
Yeah.
Which, wholesome. Natasha and Bucky are both bi. Yes, they are my bicons.
That's great.
I ship Nat and Bucky so hard too.
Show us, Disney. Don't just don't queer bait this. Like you gotta show, you gotta do more than the bare minimum. I know. They're gonna bait it, and it's gonna be just take a card out of your cartoons, Disney. If Owl House can be gay, so can you.
So, so they get picked up by John Walker, and I'm just gonna say, in this scene, it was very, very interesting to see how he carries himself as Captain America. Because I call him Captain Frat Bro.
Yeah,
that's what he sounds like. He sounds like a bro, and that's like how he talks. And when they ask him if he's ever jumped on a grenade, he's like, I've jumped on 6, actually.
Again, kind of exploring where the difference between these two dudes is. Like when like he didn't have a helmet, he was very ready to die.
Yeah, he was. We've all been there. But I just love just how different they are, because Steve grew up in the 30s and 40s, and he's a proper, and he's one of those gentlemen, and he's very honorable, and that's how he talks. He really talks like the old American men, like the Greg Pecks of America. And this guy is just chilling.
Yeah, Bucky. So they pick them up in the Jeep, and it's when Lamar Hodgkins is introducing himself, and he's like, I'm Lamar Hodgkins. And they're like, you barrel rolled out of a tactical helicopter after telling us you hacked my drone. Oh, another notable thing about this scene is they New Cap and Hodgkins reveal that they got here because they were tracking Falcon because they hacked Red Wing. That's why it was glitching in the last episode. The government has been spying on Sam.
Yep.
Which is also, it's a good thing that it got broke, because now they take that, Sam. But yeah, the reason why Bucky has enough is Lamar Hodgkins introduces himself as Battlestar, and I do not know if Battlestar is a character in. I know that he was like one of John Walker's goons in the comics. I don't know if there's any history with Winter Soldier there. From what I looked into, nothing. Which means that Bucky stormed out of the Jeep because he thought it was a stupid name. He heard that name and went, I hate these guys.
I'd rather walk.
Which I get. Man, have you ever had it, like a person in your life, like a classmate or like a coworker, that just like, it's not like they did anything to you personally. You just hate them. You just hate who they are you hate their core as a person, And that's what I feel Bucky feels for this man, and it's fantastic. But then New Cap tries one more time to plead with Sam to be on his side here, and it starts off good. He starts off saying that he's not trying to replace Sam. He's not like this is something that he like was asking for or chomping at the bit for. It's duty calls. He's just trying to be the best Captain America he can be. which is a good start. And then he just had to go and say, and where's Captain America without his wingman Falcon? Which, uh, oh, I hated that so much.
It was rough.
Like it really showed that that's again one of the key things of why Sam and Cap worked so well together was that they were fundamentally partners. Like they were equals. It was kind of a quarterback support situation. Uh, Steve was out doing like all the punching and all the brawling, but he would not be able to do any of that if he didn't have Sam doing assist from where he was at. They were both very key members in doing their missions, and Steve understood that. Steve understood that even though he's the one like taking out the big bad, he can't do any of that without the people who are opening that up as an opportunity. He doesn't see him getting the fight in the end as something that is like glorified or that he's getting honor and glory from. It's a job and with people who are his equals. And that is not something that John sees, and we see that in that moment.
It's I like that Sam and Bucky are seeing an alternate, essentially, version of themselves. But we'll find them. They'll come back in the episode again. We'll get more of Big Cap.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Flag Smashers, who have successfully completed their mission of stealing stuff. No, did they? No.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, yeah. Who have successfully completed their mission of stealing the Johnson and Johnson vaccine. Good for them.
They're in Germany. They go to this random like house apartment. The family inside lets him in. The man says that he just loves what they've been doing, the revolution that they've started, that they have allies all over the world. Even though it's revealed he doesn't know any of these people. Like it's not like he's a key member of this organization. He's just a guy who offered to give his assistance to them. He gets them set up in just this. It's dingy, but it's nice. Like in what he was able to set up for them. He talks about how his whole family like worked really hard to make it really nice and cozy for them. And there's just it's kind of a good look at the what the world is seeing of the Flag Smashers. So even though we're seeing that okay, maybe these guys are bad guys, that there's a lot of people in the world who see a lot of hope in them.
We get more in this scene on the inner workings of the Flag Smashers. And you also see more of their personalities in this. They have a dialogue with each other, and you get to see the character relationships. They're planting those relationships because, action, things aren't gonna last.
Mm-hmm. I the Carly Morgenthau, the actress playing her, she's awesome. Can we talk
Yeah,
about that?
she was in Solo as one of the bounty hunters. She comes in clutch at the end. But as soon as, her face was revealed, I could recognize that, crazy red hair and freckles anywhere. She was
Yeah.
absolutely great.
And I really like that she kind of the way that she's playing her is like she's this tough badass, but also in just kind of her facial expressions and kind of how she carries herself. We really she's kind of painted as a kid who might be getting over her head, which I think that is such a cool concept for a big bad. Especially, I really like that they took one of Captain America's biggest foes, and this is what they've reworked it as. I think it's a nice facelift. It's a really interesting story to tell, and I think we'll see where her journey goes. If she remains a villain in the end.
Yeah, so she's playing the gender bent version of the Flag Smasher from the comics, who doesn't believe in borders. The way they say it is they prefer a world after the blip when the borders were more open and everyone is more kind and caring. Now everything is getting hectic again now that everyone's back.
Yeah.
But what I like about her is she gave me Wanda vibes.
Yeah.
You see this girl who is just in so much rage and anger and grief and pain, most likely, and she's joining or has started this organization that eventually is she's in over her head. It's going to turn into something a lot greater, and we see that later on in the episode when the stakes are raised for her personally. So
Uh,
we find out here that they're wanted. They're trying to scrub their imprint off the internet and like try to, obviously do hacktivist stuff. But now they're becoming a bigger target.
Notably, Carly, while all this is happening, she doesn't share this with the rest of the group, but she gets a text from a private number that says, "You took my stuff. I'm gonna kill you."
That's terrifying. I tried to like picture myself getting that text, and I was like, wow, I'm really liking where they're taking the Flag Smashers, and I love that they're a diverse group
Mm-hmm.
because you really see what their mission is.
So from here, we cut back to Sam and Bucky. They're in Baltimore. Sam has a really cute moment with a kid in the neighborhood. So what gets us here is they have no leads on where these flag smashers might be, except that they might be potential super soldiers. Uh, and Bucky reveals that he knows a guy that might be able to shed some light on where these other super soldiers are coming from, possibly. Which is what brings them here in the first place. They go to this house where they knock on the door and ask if there is an Isaiah around. So Isaiah that's kind of a name drop because Isaiah Bradley was the Black Captain America in the comics. He took up the
He's
mantle like in the 40s.
Yeah, he took up the mantle when Steve went under.
Yeah.
So he took up the mantle after Steve went under. Steve was gone, disappeared. Someone had to be Captain America.
Hmm. Yeah. So far, because we don't know if Isaiah was, because they haven't said like, yes, he was a Captain America. He had the suit and everything. But he is a super soldier, and he is a super soldier that no one knew about until now. And Also notably in this scene, we meet uh, Elijah Bradley, who is Isaiah's grandson, and we've been talking about Young Avengers. Well, Elijah Bradley is the leader of the Young Avengers. He's Patriot.
I feel like they're absolutely, with this and WandaVision, they're totally setting up Young Avengers.
They have to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. With Hawkgirl, with Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye show being Hawkgirl. No, Hawkgirl's from DC. She's
Hawkgirl's
Blind Spot, isn't she?
yeah, she takes up the mantle of Hawkeye. No, Hawkgirl
Okay.
is a DC character who I don't know if you guys knew this. She can talk to birds.
Yeah, and she can defeat Wanda apparently.
Yeah.
So
Take it away.
while I will say, while Isaiah doesn't allude to the fact that he was Captain America, he's obviously well built as an
Mm-hmm.
old man. So you can tell. So after they leave, they have a moment where Sam kind of feels betrayed that Bucky knew this whole time that there was someone else, someone that Sam could potentially look up to and feel more confident taking the mantle. And he just kept that from him. And you find out it's because.
Oh, Nala.
Sorry. And you find out it's because Bucky doesn't want to put Isaiah through that again. So you get kind of a hint that there's more to this story.
So while they're doing this, while they're having this fight in the neighborhood, that's when the police show up and are like, excuse me, white man, is this black man giving you any issues?
Yeah, very, very real. And I'm so glad that they're touching on this fact. That just brings this universe closer to home. And it kind of makes it more real that even these superheroes are dealing with the injustices that we find in our everyday life.
Yeah. And it's kind of or instance of Sam facing this societal injustice and then the person inflicting it totally like treating him differently while still inflicting this injustice because he's the Falcon. Like when the police find out, they're like, "Oh my God, we're so sorry, Mr. Falcon. We wouldn't have harassed you if we knew you were a superhero."
And this was a great parallel to the loan scene from the last episode, where, Sam gets treated a certain way when he's Sam. And then when people find out he's Falcon, oh, suddenly everything's fine. And you can tell that that weighs on Sam, especially how he reacts when the police first show up. So at the beginning with this scene, when the cops first show up, Sam already knows what to do. He's already like, it seems like he's been in this situation before, and that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I like that they kind of flip the scene a little bit by the end, because by the end, after, oh, Falcon, it's okay, everything's fine, they go and run everyone's credentials, and they actually find out that Bucky has missed his court mandated therapy, and there's a warrant out for his arrest. So by the end of all this, it's Bucky who gets arrested. So it was a nice kind of shift in what we were expecting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really good scene. It was a really good way to kind of explore the more politics of just Captain. One thing I always really liked about Captain America is it's a lot of people are like, don't make it political. And it's like, dude, Captain America has always been political. The very first issue
Nice.
of Captain America came out in the 30s, and it had a picture of Cap punching Hitler in the face. And by the way,
Yeah.
this the Nazis suck. That wasn't a popular stance in the 30s. In fact, Nazis were a thing in the United States, because whenever people talk about the that particular issue of the comic, they never mentioned the fact that Nazism and that kind of that anti-Jewish, that anti like that Aryan race pure BS, that was a popular movement in the 30s. Did you guys know I think it was, I want to say it was either 39 or 40, there was a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden that had 20,000 people in attendance.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
There was I believe, an Academy Award-winning documentary
it was
on
a,
that rally. A
yeah,
Night at the Garden.
yeah, it's a,
Yeah.
if you guys haven't seen it, Night at the Garden, it's a short documentary. It's on YouTube. It's like 10 minutes. It is chilling. But yeah, so when Captain America was released, it wasn't just a, we hate these guys overseas who don't like Jewish people. It was a very clear stance against a movement, a dangerous movement that not only was happening in Germany, but was happening in the United States.
And I love that
Captain
they're
America
using
has always been political.
they're using the show as an opportunity again to really carry on that legacy of, yes, being politically motivated. His name's Captain America. We're going to talk about America. We go on to the next part, which is my favorite part of the episode, after Bucky gets bailed from jail.
By the way, it was not Bucky's therapist who bailed him out of jail. It was our boy who's there. It's John. John. I still like him more than Tyler Hayward. It's okay.
We won't be having
We're not
a U.S. agent. We're not having
John Walker hate hours yet.
That'll
Give
change.
it an episode. But yeah, he's like, yeah, I arranged for Bucky to be released. Oh, and also he doesn't have to go to therapy anymore. He's too valuable of an asset. Which again, it kind of shows that this guy is not seeing the bigger picture here. Like part of Bucky's court release, his probation, is going to therapy, and
I'd be jailed for that.
Yeah. I'm also willing to bet that the therapy, the mandatory therapy being part of his release, I'm willing to bet that was Cap's doing. I'm willing to bet that was something he negotiated in there.
Most likely. Hey, get this man help.
He's like, he's not going to talk to anybody. I'm about to go back to the past. Get this man a friend.
The condition of Bucky's release is that he do therapy right then. Mm-hmm. And it brings us into our next scene, which is my favorite part of the episode.
Oh, it was
the couples therapy. Excellent.
It was both a really emotionally poignant scene, but also hilarious.
Exactly. I was like laughing at first, and then, of course, my little tortured boy hit us with some deep emotional trauma. Mm-hmm. So let's get into that scene. Yeah. I love, obviously the dichotomy that Bucky has with this therapist is great. Then add Sam into that.
I like that Sam is equally an asshole to the therapist.
Mhm.
They're the exact same in that therapy session. It's as much as they have so many differences that are dividing them at this point, in that moment, as much as they hate each other in that moment, she's the common enemy. And it was a cool dynamic where they're still like trying to one up each other and really mad at each other, but they're on the
Mhm.
same side. Uh
Yeah, they're like essentially they're doing it to annoy her as well.
mhm,
But I love how how she fires it right back at them. She's like, are we children here?"
yeah.
So she has them do stuff that she has used in couples therapy.
So the first one was a kind of a thought question of like, there's a miracle while you sleep. What is that miracle? And both of their answers were that the other one doesn't talk as much. And then they had like she had them look
Mhm.
at each other and stare into like each other's soul to like kind of form a connection. And it just turned into a
Soul
staring.
gazing.
It turned into a staring contest, which was so well acted and so funny. Um,
I
Bucky
just
started it. The way that Sam just kind of squints cracked me up.
I love how the therapist is just like, you are both children. I'm dealing with children here. And I think it was hilarious when they got to that staring contest. They had to turn their chairs and get closer. She urged them to get closer and closer. And of course, being the little craps that they are, just took that to a whole other level. I believe it's something called a nut tuck. And they were just like, back and forth. Is this good? Are you comfortable? Like, yeah, this is great. This is a good time. I'm having fun. But within all the hilarious bickering and staring contests, which Bucky won, I believe. I
Mhm.
think he, yeah, he took that little victory. Love him. We started to get a little real. We started to have some breakthroughs.
I love this part because Bucky reveals that the reason why he's so peeved about Sam giving up the shield is because uh, Steve entrusted him with this legacy because he believed Sam was a good man and because Sam is in his view like just throwing away Steve's legacy that maybe he was wrong about Sam, and he says very confidently, if he was wrong about Sam, he was wrong about me. And it was in a something I thought was notable. See, it wasn't like a maybe he was wrong about me. It was a very definitive he was because Bucky still sees himself as a monster. He doesn't believe he's worthy of redemption. Steve did. That's kind of his hope in that.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, he doesn't believe he would be worthy of the shield.
yeah,
And oh, that part broke my heart.
it
It
just is.
means a lot to Bucky to just finally do good
Hmm.
by not only by Steve. He can't go back to being the monster he was. He has to continue to work on redeeming himself, and he feels like that is kind of not working out for him. And
Yeah.
that like it breaks my heart.
Uh, we love Bucky Barnes. I
We do. This is the Bucky Barnes love hour. So eventually a therapy session goes well. Some breakthroughs are had. It's all good. Until they head out into the night
Mhm.
and find out that the people who actually did bail them are US agent, fake Cap, and Battlestar.
Ugh.
Boo.
Also, I do want to say I did find it hilarious that their therapy session ended with them being like, "Oh yeah, we'll just do this mission and never talk to each other again." Which I know is supposed to be tragic, but I was just kind of there like, "Yeah, right."
I love that. Yeah, we have 4 more episodes. Of course, you're going to talk to each other. You're contractually obligated.
Yeah, you're gonna become best friends at the end of this. Like, you guys both know this. Stop being emo about it.
They
Go.
are. They absolutely are emo. So, they have a little spat with Fake Cap and Battlestar, and then are basically like, no, for the last time, we're not going to work with you.
Yeah.
So they Falcon and Bucky were team Cap during the Civil War. They weren't going to sign the accords because they don't want to be tethered to the government and only do what they say. They want to be free agents, essentially under contract, which is what they are. And they explain that. And, to their credit, they, just nod and seemingly understand, but we all know their paths are going to cross again, especially with what happens in the next scene, which is when some
Well,
stuff starts to get intense
yeah,
with the
because
flag smashers.
well, before that happens, our new Cap decides his tone immediately changed is when he gets the final no, we will not be working with you answer. He tells them his mood gets really, really dark. They have that just really obvious red lighting on his face, and he's like, well, then you guys better stay the heck, or word of advice, then stay the heck out of our way. And I think that's just kind of the thing that really defines him as different from Steve as Captain America. In his mind, he is the hero of the situation. And there's a glory to that. And he's telling these guys who are on the same team and doing the same thing to not get in his way of hero business. Even if they're not working together, that doesn't mean they can't be allies in the situation. It's not like they're telling him, yes, we're not helping you because we're joining the Flag Smashers.
Right.
For him,
Yeah, Steve, that's
Cap
absolutely
would
not
be like,
something
okay,
that's
that makes sense. You're operating
Mhm.
under a different rule. Like, uh, and it kind of goes back to what when he called Falcon Cap's wingman. In his mind, he is the quarterback. He is the big hero of the day, and people need to respect that and let him take the glory of it. And I think that's why fundamentally he doesn't understand this relationship between Sam and Bucky and Falcon, or not Sam and Bucky, Sam and Steve and Bucky and Steve, is that they were never sidekicks.
Exactly. And you have to realize that Steve was the leader of the Avengers,
Mhm.
and he thoroughly respected everyone on the team. He knew that everyone had something to contribute. He assumed that mantle because everyone looked to him as he was the symbol that everyone has looked to for years. He's the first Avenger.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely like I love or maybe not with the introduction of Isaiah Bradley now. Who knows? Marvel has a fun way of retrofitting
Well,
their
we know that
history.
Bradley was World War, or was the Korean War, not World War II. But that's still in old man years. 10 years is a lot. Yeah, I think he's going to be after Cap's time. Just for
Mhm.
that reason. But it'd be cool if it wasn't. If they went he was the first before Steve route. But
Who knows?
I think that would make him a little too old.
Right. So now we get into our next penultimate scene with the Flag Smashers getting some more super soldier serum, but getting caught and once again having to just quickly get out, get on the plane, and fly off. We get our first glimpse at the power broker here.
Mm-hmm.
We get our first glimpse of someone who works for the power broker. So
Yeah,
that
and
name
that's
has
the name
been
that they name
dropped.
drop too, because they're like, "Oh, they're on their way. How much time do we have?" It's the Power Brokers men, and then they're like, "Oh shit." Here's my question about the Power Broker. So we know that that is definitely going to be someone who shows up in the show. To my knowledge, everyone who's been announced on the cast we've seen so far, yeah?
Think so, because they go to different countries. Yes, I think there's still more that we haven't seen yet. We're only on episode 2.
Yeah. So basically, they're loading things into a small plane. It is not like a commercial jet. It's definitely a small,
Like charter
I think,
plane?
yeah, charter plane. I wanted to call it an indie plane, but
An indie plane?
I knew that was not right.
Yeah, it was a low budget plane. It's
Those big
not a
budget
blockbuster
studio
plane.
planes. It was an indie plane. But they get the text while they're trying to load these boxes in. They're like, "How much time do we have?" And they're like, "It's the power brokers men." And they're like, "Oh crap, we're gonna die." And they're like, "Okay, how many can we get in the plane before they get here?" And then one of the guys is like, "It's okay, I'll handle this." And the girl's like, "Thank you." I think something that was really notable about the scene is when the guy uh he's one of the flag smashers we I think he was the one that got injured in the fight scene. Because he was kind of, remember when we saw him, he was kind of holding his
Yeah.
shoulder. Yeah, so he got shot, but he tells the leader, that girl, that he's gonna handle it, and like she does not hesitate with that information. She doesn't have like a, oh, are you sure? Or no, you don't have to do this. It's just an immediate thank you. Like they both know it's gonna happen. They hug.
Yeah.
They say one world, one people, and then they part ways, and he kind of distracts this big battalion of, they look like, I think probably private security. Just he knocks down a flagpole to block their path and just run towards them, and
Would you say he smashed a flag?
uh and he just gets hailed by bullets as this plane takes off, and then this dude in a suit, we don't know who he is. He's not the power broker, but he calls the power broker, like, they got away.
Yep, he's really bummed about that. So you're beginning to piece stuff together, because earlier on in the episode she does get a text saying that they're gonna kill her,
Mm-hmm.
and this is them letting her know that they're not bluffing. So now flag smashers are in deep doo-doo.
Mm-hmm.
But then it brings us to our final scene where we're back with Sam and Bucky walking in the night, talking vaguely about someone they're going to see.
Mm-hmm. Bucky reveals that when they were talking to Isaiah. When Isaiah said "your people," he didn't mean white people; he meant Hydra. And that if Hydra maybe had a hand in making him a super soldier, there is one man with all the secrets, conveniently in a prison in Germany. Do we know who this man is? We
It's
do.
Zemo Zamo, indeed. It cuts to, security footage in a prison, getting closer and closer to the location. And he is sitting there in his room staring at the ground. The final shot is him looking up, as Marvel tends to do.
Mm-hmm. I can't help but feel, because since he was playing chess, and I might be just still reading too much into things after WandaVision, but it kind of feels like that was just their way of telling us that this is part of the game that he's been playing, that he's playing the long con, and everything that's happening right now is part of it.
Of course, yeah. Chess is a game of strategy. And,
Mhm.
you sacrifice pawns and you switch stuff around. And yeah,
And I think the fact that we show him, when we're introduced to him playing the game, is kind of just the show's way of going that he's playing the game currently. He's currently playing the chess game. He's playing the overall game.
yeah. Love the symbolism.
Yeah, this show is so heavy on symbolism. Like, it's been symbolism the show, that
Oh,
you
yeah. We should count how many times they say symbol, because that has been very, very clearly stated.
clearly they know a thing or two about visual language. I mean, he's been in prison for what, 10 years? Half of which was through whatever the blip was. That would be so funny. If it's
That
not,
would suck,
what if
though.
he didn't find out about it until like they break him out, or like whatever's gonna happen, and he's like, yes, all according to my plan, a little differently in places, but what plan isn't like that? And then he sees a calendar and he's like, wait, what year is it?
What?
And they're like, yeah, the blip. And he's like, the what? It's like, yeah, everyone in like half of the
That
population
would be
like
that would that
oh,
would
I
be
had a
super
weird
funny.
dream like that for like what
It would
the
be great if he blipped and there was someone else in his cell. What?
the
What a
whole
crazy
time
time.
he's like trying to catch up, and he's like, aliens? Like, I know there's aliens,
Hold
but
up, rewind.
that.
So overall, love this episode. Loved the bickering, loved the chemistry, the tension, the stakes that have been raised. I'm excited to see more. They will, they could potentially team up with Zemo. Zemo could potentially break out and, wreak his own havoc if he is somehow involved in this. There's a lot, there's a lot they can go from here. And, Sharon Carter is also part of the show and has not been introduced yet as well.
Yeah. I hope she comes next up. I feel like she's gonna come next episode, but
Mhm.
at the same time, they've kind of just been doing a thing where they tease a character at the end, and that's the big character we're introduced into the next episode.
Right.
I'm gonna laugh if that's what they do with her. Just it's time to see Sharon.
Hey. I mean, again, Marvel with their formula. If it ain't broke, don't fix.
Yeah, this episode really picked up from the last episode. And that isn't to say
Mhm.
that the last episode was bad. But this one just I think just it really picked up the energy, it picked up the stakes, it really threw us into kind of what the main plot. The first episode was kind of the introduction, and then this one kind of feels like the okay, we're getting into the Marvel stuff now.
We'll find out in the next episode. So tune in as we continue our trek through this wonderful new series. Thank you, Marvel, for providing us with the content we so desperately lacked last year.
Please tell us what you think of our thoughts and theories in the comment section of this episode, or send us an email at sirensdenpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Ty, our producer, and to Sean Thomas at fuzzstudio.com for our theme song.
We'll catch you next time.